Mr. Vito, I feel compelled to call you Dr. Morano just because I feel like when I was reading the book, I don't, I would never understand that it wasn't your experiences unless you are taking the experiences from someone else and you are a very descriptive person about it on how to describe moments. But I was like, there's no way the author did not go through these same exact emotions and describe it that way in a book because every single line I read, I felt the tension. I felt um kind of like if I were in that situation, maybe again, because of my ideals, and I'm a very family oriented person, and I like to consider other people's feelings. I like to control dynamics. A lot of these things I think maybe apply to me. But before we start, I would like you to give me introduce yourself and also give me a little bit of context of the book, just so that the audience understands it.
Well, I can give you a long story, but it's too long. So
Okay.
I'll give you the short story. I was born in Poland. I was educated in Poland, went to medical school in Poland, became a faculty member, Warsaw Medical School. And then, when I was junior assistant to my professor in Warsaw, he asked me to start open heart surgery program in Poland.
What age?
I was at 27, 28 at this point.
Okay.
But at that time, it was no place in Poland to learn because everything was just starting here, and in Poland was even not there. So I decided to come here to learn to do open heart surgery. I came to Charlotte.
Was that transition easy for you? Did you have to leave family
You know, I
behind?
was probably your age or a little younger than you are, and at that time, for me, it was very exciting. I
Okay.
mean, I sat on this plane in Panam and all the airlines, and I was flying here, and I was so excited because I was coming to the United States.
Had you heard stories about it?
Well, our Polish connection with the United States is very deep, and we probably are one of the best friends of the United States and Poland.
Really?
But the
Okay.
changes back and forth, back and forth. But we have lots of families here. We have lots of history. The Polish people were fighting for independence. Kościuszko, Pulaski. There was many of them, so we know a lot about history. Actually, I have to tell you that after Constitution in United States, which was very famous Constitution, the first constitution in this pattern was established in Poland.
Was
And,
it the one that they lost here, or they established here in Charlotte?
well, no, not exactly. It was a Polish constitution, 3rd of May, I think, was 1791.
Okay. Okay.
And
It's not
at
the same
that
one.
time was first constitution on the pattern of the United States in the entire world. But few years later, we were overridden by Germany, by Russia, and by Austro-Hungarian Empire that was gone. So our ties with the United States are quite high, and I had good hopes that I'm coming to the place, which is exciting
Okay.
because I didn't have any fear. Like you're young, you go there. My mother, when she was putting me on the airplane in Warsaw, she was crying because she didn't know when she's going to see me next time. And for me, coming across the ocean, I thought that I knew language, but I didn't that much. But I was open. Everything was fine. I was able to get to everything new. I was able to do that. And I said, hey, that's great. I'm going to go. So transition was not difficult, although it was very different from me because I had to learn so many new things.
Okay.
I had to learn how to speak. I had to learn how to behave in new situations. For example, in Poland, when I was, I'll tell you full story, but a policeman stopped me here in Charlotte, somewhere I was driving, and there was several things happened, and I tried to show him as authority. I was trying to get out from the car because you don't sit talk to people of authority sitting in a chair anywhere. So you try and get out and say,
Oh,
"No, don't do that. Don't do it. Get out. Stay in the car."
Oh, okay, okay.
They didn't want me to get out. But no, transition was not easy, but it was very exciting for me. I was working hard. I was working on call, being every other night, which meant 36 hours in hospital and few hours off, 36 hours on and few hours off. But I graduated and I went to got a job in California and spent 30 years working in community hospital in close to Ventura, halfway between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara.
Your book is making a lot more sense now.
That's what it is. And I'll tell you why, what happened later on. And later on, when I came to here and decided to retire, I came here because I like the area. One of the biggest problems with the retirement for people who are in the heartstrong environment is what to do in the retirement.
Strong environment, what do you mean?
Doing open heart surgery, being on call somehow, being tense, being have to ready to go to an operating room and operate on long cases. It's a high pressure environment.
Absolutely, yes.
And so you have to do that, and I did it. But then people who retire, they don't know what to do.
But in your case, had you planned it? Like, I can imagine that there is a way that you have to tell the hospital, and the hospital obviously relies on you because you have 30 years experience. You're one of the most experienced surgeon there. How is that transition? Like,
it's very difficult for some people. Some people, it's easy to be physician, especially surgeon, because you're usually good surgeon. In this country, most of surgeons are good surgeons. And when you're in a hospital, you are cherished. You're the best. You're the king operating room. They used to say you're the captain of the ship.
Okay.
And everybody caters to you, does everything what you want to, providing that results are very good. And then
providing that the results are good.
Providing that are good, because otherwise it's not good. And so you're king, you're the best. Everybody caters to you. But then you come home, and wife sometimes, you know how it is. You have to do this, you have to do that. You are not very big person in the house because you are not spending as much time as you would like to do. And then people who come to the retirement time, they don't know how to behave because their power is gone. If they spend all the time in the operating room, don't spend time with the kids at home, there is a big gap to fill it up. If they don't prepare themselves, they come home after retirement, they don't know what to do.
Is it because the kids don't know you in the way that you are, or is it because you don't know how to adapt to them?
This is a very good point. That's both. Because if you are in a hospital and you're good in the hospital, everybody tries to help you. Easy to this time to be stretched. So you spend more and more time in a hospital because it's easy. Mm-hmm. And time at home is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So if you overweight, you stay in the hospital, and underweight, you stay at home, you are losing. Because your ties with the family, with your children, are not as strong. They are baseball games to go, there are hockey tournaments, there are music lessons, everything, soccer. And if you don't go over there, then you don't develop these ties. And later on, find out the children they don't know you, and they don't feel much to you. So you need to entire story. My entire Murano family is based on maintaining the balance and live your life from the end. Because by the end of your life, and I'll tell you the story later on, you have to be sure that you did everything to maintain, which is important. Because your professional life is important only when you are professional and you're to you.
That's a huge dilemma.
It is.
It's a huge dilemma
It is.
because it's like you wanna be able to be there for your family,
Right.
but also the people in the hospital are relying on you,
Right.
and therefore you also have to make a good living, and that's the thing that in this society is that if you don't work and you don't give your part to people, there's no way you can be able to give something to your family back.
Absolutely. And this is an art of being, for me, is being a man.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I
And
want to
then
get to.
man, it's nothing wrong with the women, but the usual man is the one who's provider. Usual man is the strong, this alpha person who's a family and tries to be in good connection with them, but it's difficult because it's easy to say, I need to go to the hospital. I have so many friends who spend time in the hospital and missed all the in kids in celebrations, and that's bad because that's the most important part for a certain point. So you need to cherish. First of all, you need to maintain the balance, and second of all, you have to maintain some kind of interests which you can cultivate, which you are retired because you don't want to spend all your time playing golf unless you love it. Or only sit on a couch watching TV,
Yeah.
or go to the coffee shop with your friends, talk about politics and how bad their health is. You don't think about health, but in my
No, I absolutely do.
and you should.
I absolutely
and you should,
do.
but most of people don't. And when you are old, there's nothing else to talk about. Politics and health. And I hate that. I
Okay.
don't want to have this thing doing that. So the idea is to have life that way that by the end of the life, you will be satisfied. I did everything what I could.
And I think that when I become older, I still want to be able to cherish how excited I am today about certain things. Because again, if that's kind of like what we're all going to talk about, just politics and health, that's a very grim way to look at it, or grim thing to think about, because I would like to be invigorated by how exciting things in life are. I don't know, technology, the youth on what they're coming about, and you, the way that you displayed it obviously was through stories, but at what age did you think that you would be writing stories, that you would be putting your experiences down on paper? Was it hard for you to put things down on paper and say, oh, I'm actually going to have the courage to talk about these things and display my vulnerability to the people? Because in just being broad and looking at it from a third person perspective, people would think that you have the perfect life. You're a surgeon, you make good money, your family as well, but they don't look at the underlying situations that you actually come home to, and they don't live your life.
What price did I pay? But no, this is very important because that's an art of being a human being. And in this country, you can do whatever you want to do. You can choose the good things, you can choose the bad things, or you can let bad things happen to you. And if you are young and start thinking well ahead of time, in a bigger perspective, then you can do that. But you have to, like you said, talk to people, read the book, and meet other things, because that's the way you learn. It's a fascinating thing. I'm older than you are, and I went through a lot. But when I was retiring, I didn't know what to do yet. And when I was having one of our last meetings, they said, so what are you going to do when you're retiring? And I said,
You're meeting with the board of the hospital?
yeah, yes. And I said, well, I want to say, I want to go to Disneyland. Well, that's not Disneyland. I want to say, I'm going to have a Starbucks next day. So we went to Starbucks. Next day with my wife, we are having just celebrated our 47th wedding anniversary. And we do it every year. Next day after I retire, we both retire at the same time. But then I decided what to do, and I said, maybe I have so many stories to tell. Because the universe is made not of atoms, it's made out of stories. That's not my quote, that Muriel Rukeyser. It's not atoms. Entire universe is made out of stories.
And who is that?
Muriel Rukeyser. I can give you the reference to that, or you can find my website, because one of the things which I keep thinking all the time, there are stories everywhere. And then I looked on my life, and I had so many stories to tell. There were stories from Poland, there were stories from my training, there were stories of being caught by policemen, that's a bigger story which I told you, or things which I came unbeknownst to this country and I've learned here, and then in the operating room. There's a drama in the operating room. There's so many things going on. When you put one patient on the operating table, but there's so many people participating in his care, right? Mm-hmm. When you put him to sleep, anesthesiologists, nurses, scrub nurses, technicians, pharmacists, in just an operating room. And each of this person has different personality.
And that's what I was going to ask you. I was like, you being the leader, how much in control do you have to be of not only their profession, but personalities?
You know that you're responsible for the results. So if something good happen, yours is the glory. If doesn't, you are in fault. And then you have to be known how to deal with the people. And there are different temperaments of surgeons. Some people are quiet. I would tend to be quiet and try to even kill. But there are people who are very temperamental. People who yell, scream, throw instruments. This is the way they deal with the pressures. It was to the point that when I started practicing, there was one room in Charlotte Memorial Hospital. You don't know that, because Charlotte Memorial Hospital used to be placed around that entire hospital complex is involved. You can't find it. There was a neurosurgical room where when I came to the room, I was a trainee at this point, there was a big pillow taped to the wall. I said, what is it? Oh, we have surgeon when he's upset, he hits his head on the pillow. That's a true story.
Really?
I mean, people don't realize how many things going on in the operating room, but it was a true story over there. So people deal with things different because they just different personality. There's lots of drama. And probably for a surgeon, the worst thing that can happen is when the patient died on an operating table.
Before we continue, how much of Dr. Morano is you?
And that's a very good question.
Because I was going to ask...
I become very emotional when I talk about it.
I was going to ask you because Dr. Morano in the book, he seems like a very quiet, held back guy in the surgery room. He even played music while he was like kind of like the orchestrator of like everything. And so that's why I asked you, like, how much of that is you?
It's a very good question. When people ask me the question, and they ask me often, I say about 50%.
Okay.
But you don't know which 50%.
Yeah, and I think let's keep it that way, just because
keep it that way because my wife's keeps telling me, don't put too much about myself over there. I don't want to be in the book.
Yeah.
All I want to have is the happy ending. So each book has a happy ending. And but there are very many personal stories. Some of them are very personal, and I won't tell you which one, and I'll tell the readers which one, with me, with my family, with the wife, with everything else going on.
Yeah.
And but that's authenticity there, because this is very important. Most of the stories are authentic. Most of geography is the way it is. But the car, even which crashed, the second book, so you don't know yet,
Yeah.
is authentic car. And then every single medical details are very authentic. And there's a real problem. For example, this book is set up as a mystery, as a drama, as a detective story. Who did it? And but the second,
Okay.
the second
okay.
second book is a little different. The third is a which is not published yet. I have everything written. It's already on the file. I need to push it, publish, and done it, but not yet. I'm working on the website right now.
When does it come out?
Well, sometime this year, and I would like to do it before Christmas.
Okay.
Because I've published first two books, and I want to republish them, and just redo it to the point that I can open it up to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And third book is after people read first and second. This third book make a little more sense. But they're all authentic stories, especially medical details are good, and so let's see how people will see it.
And we were on the topic of what type of surgeon are you?
You mean temperamental?
Yeah.
I am very quiet surgeon. I was trying to be solve all the problems myself, and I knew the problems are coming because every surgery you know how to start, but you don't know how to finish. Mm-hmm. Because simple surgeries are simple, but more complicated.
But what does a simple surgery look like?
Single surgery is like even like you do hernia surgery.
Okay.
Simple surgeries, although can be complicated, like you do abdominal surgery, like gallbladder surgery, although has to be can be very complicated. But open heart surgery, I was fascinated. By the first time I saw beating heart. It was in Charlotte Memorial Hospital. I was working with Dr. Robicek, which is an icon. Not many people know it, but it's an icon in this time. He died by now, Francis Robicek. And he showed me beating heart. And I was in awe. I looked at that and I saw, this is the essence of the man's livelihood. This is beating, and maintains person alive. Then, to do surgery on that, we need to stop the heart. So we put the cannulas, bypass the heart, and heart has to be stopped. To do coronary anastomosis.
You stopped the heart?
Yeah. And this is a fascinating moment. People don't know that people who go through open heart surgery, quite often, not always, quite often, their heart is stopped. So by all definitions,
you're dead.
You're dead.
What?
And people don't know that. It's less, now we do less open heart surgery, but at that time when we were doing that,
I know anesthesiologists turn off consciousness, right? Like they
that's
basically
right.
turn off your
That's
brain.
right. Sensory things,
but what about your heart? Then you're the one that turns off the heart?
Right. We stop the heart by several ways to do it, but we need to stop it. Heart becomes usually very flaccid, then we can do our anastomosis, replace the valve, put it back together, and then you have to restart the heart. What you do by chemical ways, increase the temperature, put special solution into the coronaries, and this heart, which was dead for a while, starts beating slowly, faster. And then you have to be able to restore the function of the heart, disconnect the machine from the heart, and patient is alive, goes back to normal. Each time, for me, the heart, which used to be stopped, start beating. There was like a biggest miracles in the world.
For you every single time?
Yeah, you look at that, and most of the time, 99% of cases, the heart restart, but sometimes it doesn't. then you have that person on your hand. So it's seems easy to describe, but from the emotional standpoint, it's a fascinating thing.
So does that mean that you're tense up until the moment that you restart the heart?
I was tensed. Some people maybe not. There are people who are much more mature. They said that cardiac surgeon needs to be strong man, just down to brain. But I was not. I was more sensitive person. So I have, he's gonna wake up. Or if you have to crush the heart, for example, crush the patient's heart, something's going on. You need to put in an emergency bypass for different reasons. So you need to rush, connect the heart and body to the machine. And there's a certain time the heart is not beating before you stop it intentionally. So this is time which brain is not perfused. And when this time, you don't know what's going on in the brain. You have no idea. So you do all the work. After you have to put a patient on emergency bypass. You do all the work and wait for results. You don't know if patient is going to wake up. So this kind of drama situation happens quite often. It depends how do you tolerate. Some people tolerate it well. Some people don't tolerate it well. But it's very interesting.
With you looking and touching people's heart, how important is the relationship going into surgery for you? Because
for me, it's very important.
Because with you saying that you stopped the heart, then what is the percentage? How sure are you that that person's gonna come back alive again? Is it like some type of hope as well too?
It is hope. It's how you confident are you confident in your skills, and how strong mentally you are. But there's a feeling that I have towards each patient, that this patient didn't see what I saw. He will never see what I saw. When I saw his beating heart exposed.
Yeah, that.
And so I have advantage of this person because he will never be able to do it. So there's a kind of intimacy which you have between yourself and the patient. He will never do that. You have the advantage of them, but you have to be properly maintained person. You have to be honest, and you have to be very modest, because he gives you permission to touch his heart, which he will not be able to do it and not be able to see it. That's a very special relationship between you and your patient.
And with you being the one who controls if that person's gonna come back alive again, does it build some type of ego that clash with you?
For some people, yeah, it usually does. Sometimes.
Because are you a religious person?
Very much.
Okay.
Very much, and this is gonna show up in my third book.
Okay.
So I think that any kind of religion, it's a good religion. I'm a Christian. I am Catholic. I was born in Poland. Mm-hmm. And this is very important, to have some kind of grounding for yourself. And religion quite often gives you grounding, what to do, what not to do. So this is very important, yeah.
Morality.
Morality is very important. Something which keeps you within the certain guardrails. Because if there's no guardrails, people are going left, right, do whatever they want to do. After a while, they stabilize because they need to find out the path for them to live, to go, to grow. Some people don't want to have, and quite often, youngest people try to do whatever they want to do. After a while, better sooner than later, then realize that there's something that already was established by millennia, by how many years we people live. So we've learned something. There are good things, there are bad things, and usually good things usually are the same. So you have to learn. But for many people, religion gives a grounding, how to live your daily life. You don't have to do everything. You get the path, but idea is there.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important, and in the way that you ground yourself, because then therefore you know where you can actually go, because
Right,
then if you don't,
right,
then you're really off the rails.
right.
Um, why start off the series with something as dramatic as a lawsuit? Um, in the book, uh, is it because you wanted to take the reader across the journey of a patient that doesn't turn out well, or was it more of an investigative case to kind of also portray what surgeons go through whenever they don't, uh, when there's not a good result in a surgery?
That's the second part. That's a very good question, though.
Because there's a lot of cynicism also too in the book, that by other characters that try to affect the doctor.
That's a very true, and this story is partially true. It's true, and every surgeon, especially high-risk surgeons like OB, neurosurgeons, cardiac surgeons, are exposed to high liability. In California, especially, this is very much investigated. You have to be careful. You can't be sued for anything you want to, and
So it changes
this
by state.
yes, rules in different states are different. Some people are more, some states are more lenient. Some people are more strict. States are strict, and California is usually quite strict. And not that you have to be paralyzed by suit, but you have to be careful that they can do anything and sue you most of the time, but sometimes for a frivolous reason, but you do so. Not that this has to be on your head all the time, but it happens. But if it does happen, that usually changes your entire life. I mean, your entire life. You can sleep, you can't work, you cannot start next surgery because, oh my God, something's gone. You have a gunshot, a feeling that something happens, and it's a paralyzing feeling. If you are being sued by somebody, the rules are so difficult and so strict that it just changes your life. And just to let you know, and readers know too, that happens the most of the time to people.
Oh, it's very.
It's not all the time. Some people have more than others, but usually most of the people do have suits against them. Some bigger, some smaller, but it paralyzes your life completely. Your family life. You want to stay away from everything. You are afraid to go back to the operating room. So this is something which is, quite often you made a mistake. Quite often, somehow, you don't. And it's a frivolous suit. And both cases are happening from time to time. And but that's I put a little stain on your life.
Don't you think that there should be a better way to protect doctors, though? Because if most cases aren't malpractice, right? But it shouldn't there be some type of protection for doctors? Because either way, they've also dedicated themselves so much to people. Then whenever they're in those cases, like no one stands with them. It's like everybody, just like you said, first you're the king of everything and you're the captain, but then they're trying to throw you over ship when you don't do something good.
That's true. But then you have to be careful to protect the consumer, which is the patient, and protect the doctors. There are certain frivolous suits.
The protection against with doctors.
You have to be careful because there's no question they are bad doctors. And those doctors are visible from a mile away. They don't do well, and they harm the patients. They do so many things for money. There are doctors like that, and they overdo surgery. They have lots of complications. But there's many doctors who are being sued just for doing their job. So there's an art over there to find out which is a good doctor and made just mistake, and which doctor is just malicious doctor. So it's a big problem, and of course I'm biased, but I went through that for 30 years in this country and 50 years altogether. So it's a problem.
What kept you out of those situations?
Well, I had one or two lawsuits, but you need to be very diligent and you have to be honest with yourself. The most important skills the surgeon has to learn quite often is not how to operate in the patient, how to do surgery, but when not to do surgery. So with the skills which you have and knowledge and your past years experience, you have to learn, I'm not going to operate on this patient. I should not do that because something's going to happen. Patient probably will die. And I had a case which I described probably here or somewhere else that I was kind of forced to do surgery by an anesthesiologist. And by a cardiologist, who asked me to operate on this guy because he can't help him anymore. I knew he's going to die on the table. He died on the table, and I should not have done the surgery because it was a big problem after that. So that's one of the things you have to learn is when not to operate. But some people want to do for money, they operate one or another. He's going to pay one or another way, and this is not good philosophy. But sometimes decisions are very difficult for that.
How much is the involvement of money whenever you're operating on someone? Or have there been situations where you feel like you can operate on someone, but just because of their economic state that they can't do it? How much of that is involved?
I've never refused doing surgery on a patient who did not have money.
Really?
Never have. And quite often it's an emergency room when people coming with no money.
Okay.
So you cannot ask them to tell them not to do surgery because I have no money.
Okay, I didn't
There's
know
no
that.
problem.
I didn't know that.
For some people, there are cases of doctors who operate because have extra income. And they review their indications for surgery. They were not good. So those doctors were disciplined. But money, after a while, you realize it's not about money. Most of the people, they have. It's not about the money because money is just only part of equation. You have your time to live. You have your life to go through. And being a doctor usually is something which gives you enough money to go through retirement and beyond. But the problem, how do you make your money? It's very important because there's so many different aspects into that. But for me, the most important thing was well done surgery. And the biggest peak of that was to see the patient after surgery whom I helped. Because this is something which you cannot buy this for any money. If you have somebody who was not doing very well, and after surgery he comes to you, I feel great. That's what you're looking for. And that's what you want to do, cases like that. So by the end of the life, surgical life, professional life, you can see that I did something good. So you don't think about money. You see about lives you changed. And then later on, you go to your retirement time. And then you remember those things. And I have so many stories. I decide, hey, I'm going to write in the book about it. And then one book morphed to trilogy. And then this was a fiction, but life-inspired fiction. So that's not something which I came out after air, wrote it down.
Yeah.
This is based on this fiction, but it's based on the real events. So I try to take all those events from my life, strung it together, put in a story, fill up the gaps with that, and then make a story about Murano family. And then I talk more and more about it, and then I realized that's there's something which I would like to show it to young people.
How come?
Because young people need some guidance quite often.
If they want to take it,
If they want to take it,
yeah,
that's their free will.
Yeah.
But they usually don't.
they
And
usually don't.
later, like was with Mark Twain, and age of 7, age of 14, he said, my father didn't know anything. And how he's so stupid that I know things which he doesn't. And then by the age of 21, he realized how much did his father learn for the several years. Well, he didn't learn. Father was the same, but he learned so many things that he realized now. Father knows few things when he's older. But that's their take. But everything is there. And I'm trying to tell them how to live your life, that by the end of the life, you said to yourself, I did everything I could. I learned this, I learned that, and I'm satisfied. Then you can die. Let me tell you the story. You are laying in the bed, on the deathbed. You are at the end of your life. It's plain room, nothing there, no pictures, just bed. There's no one around. No one on the left side, no one on the right side. And you know that you are dying. And you look on your life and you think, where did it go? What had happened? How did it happen that by the end of my life, I'm by myself? There's no one next to me. And he said, what have I done wrong? I lived through professional life, I lived through family life. They are not here. Now when I need them the most. Was everything for nothing? And then you wake up. It was a dream. And you see that you are in your bedroom. Your wife is on side. She's alive. She's asleep. You have to get dressed. You have to go to hospital. You go to children's room. One is asleep. Another is asleep. They are alive. They are great. And you know what to do now with your life. You have to have professional life. You have to have family life. You need to balance. So by the end of your life, when you be dying, there will be somebody holding your hand. Murano, this happened to Murano, to his father. Hopefully it's going to happen to Jack Murano. Happened to my father. When he was dying, he came here from Poland. When he was dying, my mother, his wife, was holding his hand. When my mother was dying, I was holding her hand, and I wish if I would be dying, somebody's going to hold my hand. So you need to live your life this way, that you have family around you in the most important moment, not all the time, but something which gives you a feeling that, hey, I did something. Those boys or those girls or this wife is next to me. Grateful. You are not going to die alone, and that's the worst thing that happen.
This is my perspective, right? And with the story that you told, is that we live in a world that really like self-care is considered, I think it's going down the road of a little bit of selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
Because from the story that you told is that I think it's more important on the contributions you give to people than really taking yourself seriously.
Right.
Like the way that you affect the people around you in your circle will determine how successful you'll feel at the end of your life. But we live in an age where I feel like we're really selfish. We're always I mean, and I just talked to you as like as a man, right? Like not female perspective. I don't know that's them, right? But as a man, I'm like, how much can I do for the people around me? How much can they rely on me to take their headache away? How much can they say, oh, because in some way you also want the people around you to talk about you in a way that they say like, oh no, like Mario will fix it, or Vito will fix it. I just have to go to him, and he knows everything. Like in some type of way, that makes you feel good. That makes you feel like people can't trust you. And at the end of your life, it's like it really is determined by the people you help. And really, it's not about you. It's really about the community you've built, but wholeheartedly, without any type of payback necessarily that you're looking for. You've done it wholeheartedly. You've done it in a way that you've wanted to give back to the people. But I feel like we live in a selfish world. I feel like that's what's really propagated these days.
True, true, because people want to have this 15 seconds of fame, try to be somewhere, show what they have done, and how much do I get out of helping other people? You'd like to help other people, but the rewards sometimes are not what you want, some people want. You don't have the money. You want to have some exposure, that's fine. But for me, the most important thing is my satisfaction that I can help somebody. And sometimes it's more important for me, how do I feel after that? Because you cannot put any monetary value on that. You just have to feel good about it and do it not because somebody is gonna give you back what I have for it. No, because in the moment when you do something for people, you feel good. And it's not about money. It's not about fame. Not about else. Just your own same feelings. How do you feel about that?
How do the young people in your family feel about you writing a book? Have they understood you a bit better? Are there new things that, like new relationships, have you guys bonded over the book in new ways?
My wife is very much, she was my first editor, first reader. She read most of the book, and I dedicated the book to her.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah, her name is Bonnie. And that's the most important thing for me, that she is being involved in the process. Of course, she's not reading everything all the time, but she read most of the things, and she just tried to be sure that I don't put too many personal data in the book.
Yeah.
But I think my family is excited that I have something to do, because I get up 5 o'clock in the morning and do something with
At
publishing.
5 o'clock in the morning?
Oh yeah. Well, when you get older, sometimes you have trouble sleeping. So that's what you do. Yeah, go to bed by 9:30, 10. So that's different lifestyle. But you do it, and there's something else to do, and there's so much, for example, in the writing process, so much software involved. Writing, correcting, editing, publishing, translating, formatting. And I, in my age, had to learn how to do that. So I can do everything myself. This is something which gives me hope. Each time I go to sleep, I need to know what I'm going to do next day.
Did you go through the process yourself because you felt like you wanted to know how it was done, or because you just didn't really want to rely on other people?
Both. I have to know how it's being done. So language is my second language, of course. So I have to write in that. And then, of course, you can do minor check yourself. But serious editing, you need to have editors, several different types of editors. But then when I have final copy, I can format it myself. And then there are ways to do it through the software to publish it. And it's a very sophisticated problem to have, and I can enjoy it. And then I have my website is also bilingual, so it's also in Polish, and then I had to translate everything into Polish, and I publish book in Polish too. So it's a complicated way of doing it, but keeps me going, and I love doing that.
What's different? Mannerisms,
In
expressions?
Polish,
Yeah,
language is different.
it's different.
And I don't know the language. I left Poland in '75, so I didn't speak Polish at that time. Since that time, the language is completely different. But there's software you can do it, and then I have to give it to Polish editor, and Polish editor needs to go through everything, and it lets me check it. And usually it's a woman, and I ask her, why is this? I don't know this word. Well, language has changed. It's 50, 60 years, so much difference. So, but it's exciting time, better than for me than watching TV all the time. So it's a fascinating process how this thing works.
Before writing, who were you? Because for some, like, for you to write a book, like, you had to probably express your art in a different way, right?
Right. I had a classical education. When I went to school in Poland, I had a Greek, I had Latin, I had ancient history. I read a lot, and but I read a little differently now. I read things about self-improvement.
What did you read when you were younger?
When I was younger, originally I read lots of books which were Polish classical literature, which is many of them.
How? Okay, describe it.
And they are classical Polish literatures, which are really good, and give you it's different because it's usually written about Polish history. We have such a turbulent history for at least 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighting with Germans and Russians and Austrians and whatever around. And we had a country, we did not have a country, then we had a country again, then we invaded again. So we are in turmoil. So there's lots of literature literature is being turned around our troubled past. So I was reading that. Very good literature based on Greek literature, hexameter, and the prose was very captivating.
Was literature back then a little bit more clear and factual? Because I feel like
It was
today,
different.
because I feel like today, a lot of it is controlled by someone's ideal or philosophy trying to be embedded to tales. Again, if we go to that, tales are the most important thing, is that you can control a whole generation by the stories you tell.
Right. And that's the way in every system, the government tries to control the population, as you said, very rightly so, by literature. And I grew up under communism, and the Polish government was picking and choosing the writers.
Okay.
If you were picked by the government, you have to write about Stalin, you have to write about the communism, all those panegyrics. And if you didn't write their way, you could not publish. So there's difference between the eating or not eating. If you were their writer, you can write whatever you want to do on that, and they published it, and you had a very nice apartment, car sometimes, good food, which was at that time was kind of scarce. But if you didn't, you were banned, you were canceled. There was nothing to it. So that's something which is very important. How government can control the growing of the young education by the literature and by the movies and writings and plays. But I also went to music school, and I had a musical degree. So part of my education involved a music degree. I was playing violin, And by the end of my school, I have to decide to go to school or continue violin, and I couldn't do it. So
Was that a kind of decision of eating or not eating?
not at this point, not that.
No.
That was just for writers, but I just went through medical school to my music school, and by the time I went to medical school, it was too much, so I had to quit it. But you ask, what was the inspiring thing in my life? That's what it was. All the stories from the past and the literature which I learned. I came here and I was so busy, I didn't do too much reading when I was doing my training.
Okay.
But when I retired, when I was a medical, when I was working, at that time, it was my time when I would like to learn how to be a better person. I
Why? Like, did you feel like you were
I'll try to learn a better person, a better surgeon, a better father, and know a little more. And there was nonfiction.
nonfiction?
So
Okay,
when I
yeah.
was in original school, before in elementary school, I read fiction. Then later I read nonfiction. For my purpose, I designed divided human life in 3 periods, 30 years period. First are the formative years, 30 years. Second, 30 to 60, is the productive years.
Okay.
When you produce, you learn, you accumulate everything, and then you try to perform. And then after retirement, 60 years to 90 years, there's a third, I call it third trimester, when you use all the things which you've learned and accumulated and got to have a life which is productive for you, for your family, and for people around. So you have to, first of all, not the most important, but very important, is have enough money. So you can live by next 30 years without worrying about what to eat next day. Not everybody does it, but in this country it's usually possible to have enough money by time of retirement.
Does that take you also being consistent with how you live? Because you could probably have all the money in the world, but if you spend it and splurge on anything, like you also have to learn how to measure yourself.
That's very important. You have to know how to spend it. And when I started practice in California, after my residence came to practice, the next year I became a partner in my practice, and I put first money to retirement. First, I don't know, it was $30,000, whatever it was. I opened my IRA, and I had a meeting with financial advisor, and we have interview time. We talked to each other, and he said, "So what their plans are?" I said, "I just want to have as much money as I can afford put away, and you make as much as you can." And he said, "Well," he says, "we need to make sure that money is going to last till 90. You'll be 90 years old." And I said, I was even not 40 at that time. I was 39, and 90 years. I am not going to live that long. I don't worry about that. I am going to worry about this time right now, having money, because I didn't look that far in the future. When I was coming to this country, I didn't look that much in the future too. I was next day, next year, 5 years. It's too much. So you have to be sure that usually money starts. You have enough money to last that long. And you do different ways. There are other ways to do it. To enough spending, not too much spending, not frivolous spending, invest properly. There are ways to do it. But usually people can do it one another. Especially now, people have a lot of money around. You look on this population, which is being retired right now. There's so much shift on the money from older to younger. But money is not the most important thing. It helps, but it's not the most important thing. It depends on how you structure your life.
But it's because essence is what kind of keeps the family together, isn't it? Because if not, your wife would worry like you're not paying the bills. Your kids, you can't really help them, so they can't really rely on you. Like how is that dynamic? It's very complicated.
It
Like
is complicated, but it's also fascinating. I noticed that one of the most important things now by my years is to have a stable family life, and not at that time of retirement, well before, because I have several people, good friends, my age, who went to second, third marriages, and they lost everything. Not only money, because one or another divorce costs money.
yeah.
They don't have people around. Kids are gone. Wife is gone. And they are by themselves. They have friends, but not so much. There's no one around who you can talk to. You can always find friends, but you need to have a stable family life, because not always people from your family is your livelihood. And Godfather story, Godfather trilogy. You probably don't know. It's
I've heard about it. Is it that one?
It does Goodfellas. That's not the same.
No, that's
but
not.
it's like a sequence. I have to let you know that, and I'll tell you why. How to live your life. The Murano story, which I coming to understanding right now, is a 3-book series of the life of Dr. Murano. And then there are certain gaps, certain side steps. I have a bunch of other books which are short stories, which describe the life of Dr. Murano, the family life. Father, him, son, the wife. The people asking, do you have any patterns which you based this thing on? And I said, not really. It came up to me by itself, but I can compare it to another series of very well-known literature, series of Godfather. And it was before probably you were born, but many people know that as a famous, iconic story of Vito Corleone, his father, his son, Al Pacino. He's not here. De Niro is here. Al Pacino is playing him in the movie. And it's a story of crime family. When Pacino tries to dominate the market of gambling and casinos and all those things, and he's having like mafia personality. Mm-hmm. He has a tremendous power. And everybody comes to him for advice, for money, what to do, what not to do, kiss in their hands, and he has tremendous power. But he neglects the family. And by the end of the story, third in the volume of the movie, he realizes that he killed everybody around. Because stories about the killing everybody was not on his page. His family, his friends, his even the closest associates, everyone was killed. And the last stage of the movie is when he, Godfather, Pacino, is sitting in the chair by himself. His dog is around. He's having orange, and he dies. All by himself. And his path is filled with dead people. Everybody's dead. And he dies by himself. Whereas in Murano family, you cannot compare the one is icon, one is a diamond in the literature and in the movie. Mine's just my story.
But I think that again, like for the people that can appreciate it, and kind of go through that day to day can also apply the same
And
things, you
and
know?
they should, and because he tries to go into all the troubles of professional life. He's very strong professional life. He's being cherished like Godfather was. He cherished an opening room. He is trying to do everything to keep the family together. He loses entire family,
And probably concerns himself over things that his wife or kids don't even look at twice.
absolutely, absolutely. By the third book, end of the book, with all the troubles, all the stories and disasters, he puts the family together. So that's it. That's in the third book. That's a one twist, which I'm not gonna divulge that. One tremendous twist, which changes everything in his life. But he still is able to put family together. And the last scene in the family book is that they're together, they're happy. So the idea is to use your position in your life, everybody has life, and to do it to achieve something which is intangible, which is keep your family together. Not use your powers like the Godfather did to kill everybody around, because they want his way to achieve whatever he wants to achieve. So it's you can use your life to enrich not only yourself, enrich other people. And then by the end of the life, if you look back on your life, I got a good life. I can go now. I can die. And this happens with my father-in-law and some other people who said, I'm ready. I'm ready. And death of a person like that, it's not a sad scene. That's a celebration and a scene of gratitude for life well lived. So that's something which now it changes from fiction to non-fiction.
Yeah.
Because non-fiction is how to live your life. And everybody should, for a certain point, start examining your life. Somebody else's wife or yourself. How am I doing? Not to, but am I doing okay? Is it something you have goal, you have a compass, you go in this direction, look straight. Some people do that, but you need to know what do you want. And for me, the most important thing is the last moment in your life. How am I gonna look back on my life and see how did it go?
I understand it now whenever you said live your life from the end.
Live your life from the end. That's very important, because you don't have to think about deathbed. That's not a sad story. That's not I'm gonna die. Well, everyone's gonna die, but try to do something good. So by the end of your life, hey, you had a good life. I'm ready to go. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's something which people don't think about. How it's too late.
I feel like with your career and how tumultuous and how many challenges you can face, then how important was it, or like for you to have such a successful marriage? Like what was it then that made it?
This is you hit the nail. The most important thing in every man's life is a successful marriage.
Because today you see how a lot of men, like too many men, I feel like, not, and it's not because we're following ideals, but because like it's just good for a man to fall in love with himself, with and also a woman that makes him fall in love with himself, like makes him appreciate himself, right? Like and today I feel like older gentlemen, or we have a lot of stars that don't get married, and then we as young men idolize that. Maybe because I also see it at home as that my parents have a successful marriage, that like that's really good for me. So that's why I can also understand it from a perspective of a young man that doesn't have that. Like, and he's like, oh, I'm just gonna be with whatever woman I want and never get married, have my kids scattered everywhere. They're not gonna know me. Again, I can also see it from that perspective, but I feel like if that's how to live, then I don't want that. You get what I mean? And if that's how modern world is gonna live their life, then I don't really want that. Like it's not for me.
You have very mature in your age, and how old are you? But you're very young. outlook on life. And I can tell you, and the rest of the people, young especially people, that marriage is the most important. It's a cornerstone of your life because there's so many things. You cannot say these things are done by men, these things by women. There are things which can get together. You need to just kind of see, put everything together. And the most important thing, if they ask me what to do to have a long marriage, I say, keep courting each other for as long as you will. You know, you use the time of your life before you get married, you keep courting your wife, right?
Yeah, so some people forget about that. Some people forget
but
that.
then don't stop doing that when you get married. This will be all the time. And it just makes you feel better, you make your wife feel better, and it just keeps going because she's the closest person to you. Kids are kids, but wives are the closest. So that's a very good point what you made, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
But with you seeing so many professionals, and even in the book, it's like I don't like lawyers. I feel like I'm like, okay, lawyers are good for the world, but they're also they can be very cynical. People also having high divorce rates. At some point, did that ever seed doubt in you?
You mean if I thought that I'm gonna get divorced?
Yeah, like because of your own personal experiences
Oh,
with your marriage.
no, never thought. It's funny because when I met my wife, I was I met when I was 34 or 35. I knew there was the woman. I mean, there's no question about it.
How?
No, I had no problems, and even didn't think twice about it. Got married, go down, and then everything was going after that. It was just obvious. I did not have any second thoughts, and everything during our marriage, it just worked out. Kids, there's lots of work because when I have 4 kids. When we had one boy, 4 years later another boy, and then 4 years later twin girls. So it's lots of work, and wife took care of that time, the kids all the time when I was working, and I was working a lot.
I bet.
We had some help in the beginning, but later on was her duty. As I helped as much as I could, but I cannot help all the time. But those things had to be some kind of negotiated or approached the way we have to do it. Someone has to do it. You can do it sometimes like with dishes, with cooking. Another person does something, cleans out the house. So this needs to be done. But the marriage, as you said, is so important for me that this is the most important thing that I had, and now is stable marriage.
How important is language? Because I feel like today also what affects us is that we don't know, like even as men, we don't know how to communicate properly. I feel like
good point. And by language, you're not saying that she is English.
No,
American.
no.
I am Polish.
No, but by language I mean
Yeah.
like by language I mean like I know how to very thoroughly explain myself and the situation where I am seeing it clearly. I am not just saying it out of emotion. I am saying it like every word is said precisely and in the way that I want it to communicate.
This ideal situation, but sometimes it's not. For example, you're excited, wife is not. Or something.
Yeah.
Wives want to do something, and you need to compromise. And there's an art of compromise. You have to do that because you won't have anything what you want, and she won't have anything what she wants. But sometimes, for me, makes sense to make her have her own way because it makes me happy. Not all the time, but if especially touchy thing could be money, but then so many ways to do it. So it's you have to have this thing in the future when you have a happy marriage. and you know how she reacts to different things after years. You know what makes her happy. You know what how she spends money. You know what she want to do, what she doesn't want to do. She has her priority. I have my priorities, but we have to gel it, and it usually works if you want to. It's you cannot have your ego overruling everything which you do because that doesn't work that way.
Ego.
Ego means that I want to be right. I am right, and I am going to be right, and I'll show it I am right, and hell if I am not going to do that. Because if that comes, then that's not good. Because you can get away 1, 2, 3 times, but later on, no. So you have to have one of your ideal situations is to have a harmony. And I want to go to sleep not fighting with my wife. And I want to go to sleep, hey, tomorrow's going to be a good day. And we did so many things today, and we're going to do tomorrow. And that's what, for me, it's a very important point.
With you being in the health industry for so long, do you think it's evolving in the correct manner, as in we're moving forward with technology, performing surgeries? Does that take away something from the surgeons themselves and the way that we also heal people?
That's a very important question. When I had my own perspective on that because I started in Poland. I was first time I went to an operating room 60, almost 5 years ago. I stepped in operating room 65 years in Poland. Now it's changed so many things. So things which were there in Poland did not pertain to things which I made in this country, did not pertain to the things which I did in operating room, and they are different now. The healthcare is one of the biggest expenses in the country. It's, I may be wrong, but very close to how much we spend on the arms and our defense. But it's not spent properly. We quite often, we as doctors, treat advanced disease. We see with somebody has a heart attack, or somebody has a stroke, or somebody has cancer, complicated cancers, or somebody has diabetes, very late stage. And we spend a lot of money on that because each, let's say, operation on the heart, open heart surgery costs a lot of money. Stay, lots of money. Rehabilitation is lots of money. Now, they have to divide, all of us, design a system which tries to prevent happening. This thing was happening. You have to have two things. One, proper nutrition. And number two, proper exercise. There are two things which can cover so many things. Of course, avoid smoking, avoid guns, avoid accidents, other things. But if you design proper way for people to eat and proper way to exercise, you can solve so many problems. But there's no money in that. Money is in treating people with the catheters, putting stents, putting pacemakers, putting grafts. Money is there. So if you incentivize people properly on working on those two things, this is going to help tremendously in preventing or delaying cancers, detecting early stage cancers. I want to recommend a book here, which is like my handbook what to do with your life.
I think I saw in the books that you read.
Right.
I saw a whole bunch of books and
It's
you described it.
Peter Attia's Outlive, and this is like a your manual to your life, especially for young people. What
When
to
did
do.
you come across that book? At what age?
About 5 years ago.
Okay,
And I
it's recent then.
But the book was written 2 years ago. I came across with Peter Attia 5 years ago, and I read the book after it came out and bought it, and it's very detailed. He's really detailed oriented, Stanford trained surgeon. He doesn't do surgery anymore, but he has a very good knowledge of work has been done in the publishing industry and in the medical field, and he knows all the data, he knows numbers, he's a number guy. And he would tell you what to do, sometimes too details, sometimes even for me, it's difficult to read because too details. I don't know so many things over there. But it's a very good book and highly recommended for people. It takes time to read it, like everything. This takes time to read it, so it's but it's worth it, especially for young people who think that is going to happen. I'll be healthy. Well, they're not. They're going to be after a while. Most of my age people have health problems. Many of those problems can be prevented when in your age, 20, 30, 40, you start doing things which are being recommended by the book. Not all of them, you don't have to do everything, but some of them. And so that's about medical care, which I see right now. There is some kind of tendency now in trying to change the way how you approach sickness. And there are several problems. It's metabolic disease, cancer, neurological disease, and mental problem. And all those things have to be addressed by simple things in the beginning, by thinking of that. But people don't think about it. And later on say, oops, they end up overweight, 100 pounds. How do you get to that? Or they end up with metabolic problems, with diabetes, with cancer, which everything is somehow connected. And if you start thinking ahead of time, you can go to that. One problem is your mental health, and which is very important with the family life. If you have good family life or bad family life, your chances of having depression, other problems are higher. So everything's connected. And later you live longer, you see how connected you are and how changed you are. When I started doing surgery, I can do anything. I can do anything. I can help everybody. But then I realized that I didn't know so many things, which I'm learning right now. Now it's too late because I don't practice anymore. But there's always something to learn. And more you know, more you realize, less you know. You realize that there's so many things you don't know, and then you find life is so exciting. Because you can go, for example, talk to you about things which are interesting. Then you go out, you see the weather, you see the lakes here you go through, and you can do so many things. And you can read the book, you can listen to whatever it is, have all the things displayed like you are, fine thing, and that's great. It's better than watching TV and doing drugs, and of course other nefarious things, alcohol, which is a big problem. I try to.
Oh, and yeah, I think that's one of the things that's really highlighted in the book. That like it's detrimental to almost all the characters.
Right.
Why?
Because there's a trend of alcoholism in the entire family, and in Murano's family, and Jack Murano, his father is John Murano, ends up in prison because he killed a person. Driving while drunk, DUI. Then Jack Murano has problem with alcoholism, which in college he suppressed, and then his son, Mike Murano, has also alcohol problem. And and he is being clobbered by that. And finally, which is not here, Jack kicks Mike, his son, out of the house because he cannot deal with his alcohol anymore. And it's a big rift after that.
Little Mike, the one that sat in the lounge eating ice cream.
Right. This Mike appears to be alcoholic and cannot fight it out. And father cannot deal with him. He been petrified. That's another. It's not here, but it's another short story, which brings to the second book, which is after Mike is being kicked out by father out of the house, and father Jack ends up by himself. There's no one around. Daughter is gone. Son is gone. Wife is gone. The only person he has is this little dog, Boomer, who's his. So it's a problem. It's a common problem. I have lots of friends who have this kind of problems, and it's usually devastating. Lots of physicians have the same problems, and there's the way of coping with, for some of them, with difficulties of their life behind the operating table. So it's important.
But what does it require then to kind of like abstain from that?
When I met this problem first time, I said, why don't you just quit drinking?
Yeah.
Why don't you just quit drinking?
Which I don't think it's that simple. But
it's not. Then I realized it's not that simple. The addiction, the problem of addiction is very complex. People try to find out, psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, they try to find out what to do, and they don't know. They think they know, they don't. If you go to rehab, for example, you go to rehab. I was visiting one of the rehabs in California, and the people are devastated. People are going to rehab, going to detox, which is a terrible problem. They lock you in it for 2 weeks in the cell, and you go berserk over there. But eventually, after 2 weeks, they give you some sedatives. You get better. You go out. You go to step-down house when you spend in community. Finally, they let you go on the life outside. And big percentage of them people relapse and go back. And here and back, and some people so go back and forth, costs a lot of money, lots of things, and lives are ruined. So there's something more than just stop drinking. There are ways to do it that finally you have to do it yourself. You realize that's the AA program helpful, but finally you have to realize the only person who can help yourself is you. And if you do that, you're done. If not, you'll be back. But that's the price we pay for alcohol abuse and effect. I'm not talking about DUIs, all those things, but the personal destruction of the human being is just tremendous.
Do you ever think about writing an autobiography instead of a nonfiction?
I didn't think about it. This might be a point, but I would rather, if I write autobiographies, maybe not be as interesting as when I write a fiction based on my life. And because I can mix up some stories which are more palatable or interesting. I'm just publishing a book in Poland. I was also a volleyball player. And we won national championship in 1967 of medical school. Later on, I went in a professional volleyball team.
Really?
But I realized that from 61 to 67, our medical school, the volleyball team was very good. We won national championship and among medical school. And we had friendly group of people. And I realized recently that we still know each other. We still keep in touch with each other. And I made a effort to organize our reunion a few years ago. After maybe 60 years after we won the national championship. Very many people came. Although some of them did not survive. Some of them were sick. But some of them were able to. The oldest guy was 92 years old. I hope he's still alive. So I'm writing the book about this time of my life. And it's a collection of the stories and collection of pictures. I have about 200 pictures, which I brought from Poland here, over the ocean, for 60 years. And I'm writing a book about it. I'm publishing this book, like a volleyball time, and in those years, 60s in Poland, medical school. And I want to give it to them. This is going to be a picture book. And by the end, again, there's a storybook about stories, how they happen. And by the end of that, I said I realized what's important by the end of the life, our situation, that money is not that important, but it helps. To live, you have to have money. But the most important are the friendships. The friendships which you're able to preserve for so many years. This is what you cherish the most. And the fact that you can talk to the person whom you knew, had a good time, stupid time sometimes, funny jokes we're making. Like one of the pictures over there when we, there's say like a public toilet, and with one of us, we pretend that we are peeing on this toilet. A stupid picture. And we're able to talk about it. So this is important. And the book is subtitled Story About Friendships, because that's what counts. So that's part of the real story, what would happen. But I would rather be directed, although I may want to think about it, but to wrap the stories who are interested, my real stories, with the fiction stories. So you can try to make it palatable, make something which is very easy to read and more interesting, probably.
How do you, like, I know that you want to promote your message more to a younger crowd. Like, how do you think about going about that? Like, what are ways that you have thought about going about that?
It's a difficult thing because
we don't read.
That's the point. This is for young male during professional career,
yeah,
before and after marriage.
Okay.
How to do the structure that you have a successful career, which you do everything, like Musk sleeps on the table, Jobs was doing the same thing. They're doing all the time.
That's a different type of creature, though, because
right, no question about it.
Yeah, like.
But people do very easily, but then you have to have a balance between something else, and you need to do that. But those people, like you, for example, they don't read. Not all of them. Many of them. Yeah. So the people who read are their wives or girlfriends.
And that's why I'm saying then that's why language is so important.
Important. You need to find the way to get to wives who are interested, who like to have a person like that in their life. But she needs to tell him to read and find out that there's a story which is worthwhile to read. You don't have to live it, just read it. And it's not easy. Another thing is to have the older men who have more time to read, if they read it, to tell their sons and grandsons, hey, here's the book. Here's something which you should read, because you don't have to live it. Just read it. And I am redesigning my website right now with the landing page for Trilogy. And I'm trying to go to social media. But then again, the social media spectrum is changing. What to use it and how to use it. Podcasts are very good medium to talk to people, because I went to your podcast or your publications, and very many young people.
And that's kind of what I wanted to bring in. Like I think that I'm capable of holding up a good conversation with someone I might not necessarily understand completely, but I feel
agree with.
But I feel exactly, or agree with, because I feel like the only thing that will erase my ignorance a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more is talking to someone that actually knows something that I
Right.
don't. Because if I just kind of stick to my world and stick
Mm-hmm.
to the people that constantly talk around me, then
Mm-hmm.
I will never learn anything new. And then,
Absolutely.
so how do I go through a self discovery of myself? How do I also bring other people into my community and then talk to them about it? And I think that today I was kind of I got tired of a lot of younger people just talking about viral moment, or again, I feel like music is important, but I can't talk about that all the time. I can't talk about just other people's drama all the
Right.
time. I
Right.
feel like at the end of the day, I sit with myself at the end of the night, and that's who I kind of have to feel accomplished with. But the only way I actually do that is through meeting people, but not by what they do, but who they are. Just like I'm talking to you right now. I couldn't do this through a Zoom call. Like that to me is always like annoying because you don't ever get the essence of the person.
And my philosophy. I have meeting. If I have a meeting to do something like develop a website or plan something, I prefer face to face because you can see facial expression,
Yeah.
body language, which you cannot go on Zoom, and you don't have those scripts and cats walking on the back. Stupid. But no, you're right. I think I fully agree with your assumptions, and the only way to learn is to be exposed, like I did with kids. I exposed them to two things, which I was doing. One was sports, another was music. So my one boy had a music degree, and he was musician, playing saxophone, chose music. My three other kids was playing hockey, ice hockey in California. It's a big deal, but they went through that and they went far. So you should expose them and let them choose. You cannot put on them do this. But what you are doing right now is great. You just try to expose yourself to as many philosophies, point views. It's commendable. So I really like.
Well, which is important. I would really like to have my friends read a little bit more and them to deviate from just like the alpha things or the self help books. Actually, Earl Nightingale says like nonfiction is like kind of like the capacity that you really see of humans because they don't hold any limits to
Right,
what they write.
right, right,
Nonfiction is amazing for me that way. But I only learned that about 6 months ago.
all right.
Like because I tended to just I had this trend of just reading self-help books, but the thing is that they reiterate the same thing. It's like if you really put it into a simple way of living life, it's like you reiterate the same thing in different ways, which is again good. But to live a good life, you really have to have people around you at the end of your life.
Yeah, you make your life by finding proper associations, and you're in a good way. More people, you don't have to agree with them all the time, but I talk to everybody, and when I go to gym quite often, and one of the best place in gym is a hot tub when people sit and
The sauna.
the sound. Well, it's a hot tub. It's kind of hot thing, and we talk, and I love to talk to everybody, and we find the best stories over there because some people talk too much, so
Too much.
you can always leave and go and do something, but you need to meet people, talk to people, because that's where you learn something. I still want to learn. Each time I go somewhere, I find someone interesting. And I just came back I was in Washington, D.C., not D.C., Washington, North Carolina. And I spent 3 days over there and met a few very interesting people. Each time you talk to people, you find something new about them, about yourself. And how do you respond to that? So I like your philosophy.
Which a lot of people like I it took a lot of courage also being on screen and having the confidence to talking to other
Right,
people, but that also started with me reading.
right.
because if like I could have just told you to come, but if I had not understood your book,
Right.
not that that's you, but
Right.
that's still part of you. Part of you, no, all of you took it took all of you to write that book. Writing 500 pages,
Right.
or the complexity of writing a trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy. Like
No.
you have to sit there with yourself and be like, okay, what am I gonna put on paper? And I think I can really understand it, because for some time, like, I would want to be a poet, but I don't really believe in my work. Like,
Right.
I have a hard time with
Right.
myself, and like really like sitting there and saying like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is good work, because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I have so many ideas that I just can't come to.
But this may change. This may change because the most important people asking, what do you have to do to be a writer? And I said, first of all, you have to have something to say. If you don't have anything to say, you cannot do it. But if you have something to say, I've never written the book before. I had something to say, and then I start writing that, and you learn. Those things can be learned, and but it's fun learning. When you are young, you're familiar with the software, with the things to do. You can do it. Then you can learn a few. I start from the beginning. When I retired, start from the beginning. Read literature, Anna Karenina, Shohoff, it's everything, and it was fun. It's fun in learning. Fun is that you have a goal. You want to write something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not now, but then you can write how to prepare the podcast. I mean, simple things. You can write ebook, and you can publish that. Or what kind of different people I met on my podcast. There'll be something which is nonfiction, and there's plenty of things like that. Or, for example, how to get for me to overcome things like that, to be able to sit with somebody who is, I don't know, 3 or 4 times your age right now, and you can talk to them about things which interest you, and how say that the man who's older than you are tell you you're on a good pathway and your future is bright. So hey, let's go for it.
And I think the most important thing I've learned is just to sit here and listen.
Let's,
And it's like
you have to learn how to listen.
like same thing with like my girlfriend. It's like I had such a hard time with relationships, but
Mm-hmm.
when you just sit there and listen, then
Mm-hmm.
you actually learn a lot.
And I've learned that women, quite often wife, they come to you and they start talking to you. They don't want to have your advice. They don't need it. They just want you to listen. And that's so common thing which you learn later on, but you forget about it because she starts talking. I said, I have a solution. I said, I don't need your solution. I know how to. No, just sit down and listen. And then you have story after story.
But then how do you respond? Do you respond empathetically, like, oh, I understand you, or I get it? Because you don't really get it, but
After a while, you get it. She just wants you to listen. So you listen, and you try to be understandable. You try to help if she asks you for that. If she asks you for, I'm looking for something. And then sometimes you give a solution and she doesn't like it.
yeah.
So it's interesting thing how it goes. But you have to give a respectful solution or acknowledge what she did so far, understand the problem, empathize, showed empathy, and then said, if I would be in a situation, I would do this. And then she changed you some. When she'll be ready, she will do it.
What do you want the audience to get out of your book at the end? Because we're gonna have to cut it, but out of the trilogy, like what is it? What was your idea behind it? Like to have a broad message about it.
I want everybody to, on every stage of life, examine their life. Just have like a rear view mirror. Look, where am I right now? Where had I been? And where is the future for me? What have I done right? What I haven't do that? And at this point, where am I still? And it's never too late. And what's my ideal in the life? How I'm gonna end up with the life I want to be. Lots of money, you can have a lot of money. Lots of friends, You have a big house, best car, you can have it. But some people, and I would like to refer to my book, you would like to have a good family.
Yeah.
And good family for me, understandable family, which is loving family, understand what you go through, understand what they are going to help. First thing, if they need, drop of a hat, you find in the second book. Drop of a hat, go help. It's happened in my life several times. And those are the moments which count the most. Because if you want to help anybody, especially your family, they'll remember that forever. No money, no anything else. Go and be there when they need you. Be right next to them. And as I said, happened in my life a couple of times. And be there. So because then they remember it forever. And that's what I wanted people to see. Look for moments like that when, without spending, money is not important. When somebody says, I need you, and Mike says it to Jack, I need you. He's flying from California to Miami the same night. And this is something which is the most important thing. So be helpful to people, most important, help your family, because helping them, you help yourself.
Also one thing I wanted to touch and finish off was the relationship between Mike and Morano. It's strong. Like, you could see the bonding that they have. How was it with you and your father?
It's a little different. My father was kind of a reluctant father. He was a very good person, very highly educated. He spoke languages, Greek, Latin, and German. And by the way, he was taken to, and that's a completely different story. He was taken to Auschwitz.
What?
And he was picked up in a roundup on the Warsaw Street. He was poked in this cattle wagon, sent to Auschwitz, and by knowing German, he talked to the guard on this cattle wagon, who was Austrian, and the guard let him go. That's not complete the story described, but that's what happened. And he was a very good person. He came back. Very good person, highly educated, but he was kind of a weak person. He did not made such a stamp on me like my mother did, for example.
Okay.
He was not example of person whom I said, oh, I've learned so much from him. I learned from him how to be a good person and how not to do bad things. But he says, well, don't do bad things because it's easier to live that way, which is great. Don't make a lie because you don't have to remember what you said.
Yeah.
So this kind of things. But he was a very right person, always correct, always on the right side of everything, very quiet, highly educated. But person who ran the family was my mother, and that's what I ended up with that.
So who did you want to emulate more?
I would like to emulate probably both people, but neither one is an example of father of Murano. There was something which I made up. But if I would like to tell what I learned from my father, is the importance of education. His education very solid, very classical, very, and it helped me. German helped him save his life because he would end up in Auschwitz and you don't get out from there soon.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Vito. I feel like I had I feel like I have a better understanding from here now on, and how to read your books, and just because I got the essence of the author. Any last remarks before we cut it off?
Now, I just want to say to people who are going to listen that I was very impressed by, first of all, when I had an email with you, I was kind of apprehensive.
How come?
Because I didn't know you, I
Yeah.
didn't know what was it, and I kind of cold call.
Yeah.
But then I went through your episodes, and they're very diverse. And that's a very good example. When my son asked me, who's the guy you're going to say? I thought he's like a Joe Rogan Jr. And that's what I describe because there's so many different things. Very nice conversation. And then I was taken by the pictures, the outline, question you sent to me. They are very thorough, very detailed, very well understood. So I was very impressed by that.
And I always appreciate people just even considering me because not like I'm not like I'm a big personality online yet.
Yeah,
I would like to say,
Yeah.
but when people actually come here and take the time, and you took about 3 hours of your time to come drive down here, that it really really means the world to me, and I feel like it gives me more reason to wanna like give back to you in a way. The way that I'll make shorts, or the way that I do the videos in a way that actually highlights what you're about, how you've lived your life, because you're not here telling it in a perspective of you grabbed it from there. You actually lived through it. You have done everything you've wanted and everything you've said, and now you're putting it down in books. And I can really appreciate how well the book is laid out. It's actually very it's like you can see it in episodes. It's like films. It's like you have this and then this and then this, but then you see come around and see full circle. I feel like it's very digestible for a first time reader, and I don't know if you made it out to be that way on purpose.
First of all, my language, because my second language, language has to be simple, and I try to have very simple language without sophisticated
jargon and
bad words, kind of bookish, kind of from too much of air, simple language, understandable. And second of all, especially later on, the chapters are not the short chapters, because if you see it's 100 whatever chapters is, and because when you read short chapters, you understand it better. If you structure a book that way, the short chapter, you have idea the action is moving very quickly, and after chapter you say, oh yeah, when something, then another chapter, oh, another something. So you can have tendency to go quicker with that.
And I would encourage anyone that's a first time reader, like the book is very, very digestible. I don't know what it was, but I have never read a book that's been that digestible. It's just like it's straight to the point, but you get the tension, you get the drama. It's like this is like what romantic novels are for women, probably, like how they see it. But it's compartmentalized, like in a way that you can actually see what's going on. You don't really lose yourself in the language, and I really appreciated that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any last remarks, guys?
No, it's great. It's a pleasure to see this area here, you growing up. I wish you the best of future, and I hope I'll see you sometimes in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And guys, if you stayed this long, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Where can our audience get a book of get the title? Because I tried to look it up on your website.
Right, on my website. Our website is witoldniesluchowski.com. Do you have something like under
yeah, I'll put it.
Why don't you put it? My website. You can find all the information on the website. My website, my books, my blogs, everything is there, and my biography. So, and it's bilingual. So if someone speaks Polish, they can do it.
Oh, and by the way, do you write all your blogs? Do you write it, or do you have someone write it for you?
Does blogs?
Yeah, your blogs.
Oh, I do myself. This is the biggest fun.
You have so many.
I know, but it's fun. You go to that. There's so many different things. We can talk forever, but blog is another thing. I have about, I don't know, 200-300 blogs on that already.
Really?
And that's a fascinating thing.
I read it briefly on the books that you read, and that kind of changed your life. So I'm gonna look into those.
Thank you.
And guys, thank you for staying this long, and we'll see you guys in the next one.